It's lovely to see everybody here tonight. Excuse me. I I titled this talk "Four Guides," but actually, um, what I want to talk about primarily is one of those, which is what I was going to say is that what guides us through life is ritual, concentration, connection, and service. These are different ways of serving life. But focusing tonight on ritual, which I've never been terribly interested in ritual personally in my practice, but lately I've become very interested in ritual, and so it's become a koan, which means that it's not a matter of knowing about it, but it's a matter of noticing it as it lives in life, as it is manifested in life. So I'd like to just share some thoughts about it, beginning with a poem entitled "A Ritual to Read to Each Other." Some of you may be familiar with this, by William Stafford. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world. And following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. For there is many a small betrayal in the mind, a shrug that lets the fragile sequence break. And as elephants parade, holding each elephant's tail, but if one wanders, the circus won't find the park. I call it cruel, and maybe the root of all cruelty, to know what occurs but not recognize the fact. And so I appeal to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote, important region in all who talk. Though we could fool each other, we should consider, lest the parade of our mutual life get lost in the dark. For it is important that awake people be awake, or a breaking line may discourage them back to sleep. The signals we give, yes, or no, or maybe, should be clear. The darkness around us is deep. This poem wanders deeply into the heart of the significance of ritual, as well as the importance of Sangha in practice. So beautifully, uh, so beautifully set out, so efficiently set out. In ritual, appealing to a voice, to something shadowy, a remote, important region. This is the aspect of ritual in practice that many people who come to Zen are not in America are not so interested in. Yet the mind and heart of ritual is really what our practice is all about. A strong, vital Zen practice that makes a real difference, whether we use our life or are used by our life. Whether we practice a beneficial presence in the world, or whether we are hammered by our life in a way that dampens the spirit and discourages us and restricts our ability to contribute. As a Sangha, we can encourage and remind each other to stay awake. A community who encourages and reminds each other to stay awake to our possibilities is what the Sangha treasure is all about. We need each other in order to stay awake. So, coming to Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday sits is an excellent weekly support to this. It's also better not to decide each week whether to do it, thus letting the fragile sequence break. Let's not do that. Let's not go with, oh, should I go? Oh, I don't feel like it. Well, just make the commitment and follow through. No matter what temporary impulse is tempting you to slide away into other distractions and obsessions. And all of you tonight here know just what I'm talking about. And then there were many who didn't quite make it tonight for various reasons. So we we keep the torch brightly lit for the sake of all of our Sangha friends. But it's challenging to establish this kind of constancy of practice, this habit of constancy. But part of the vow that we take, the Bodhisattva vow, uses the tendency to become habituated, uses it to habituate to a wholesome routine. And this living with a wholesome routine is part of the wisdom of this life of practice. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is left out. But living at home in a non-practice environment, and maybe it's easier for those of us who live alone than for those who live with others. But a non-practice environment provides a constant pull away from practice in this culture. Unless we set this as a conscious and deliberate intention to maintain the thread of awakeness and put all of our energies in service to this intention. So developing a sturdy life of practice is developing a habit of cultivation. And very often Chan teachers talk about cultivation rather than practice, tending to our cultivation. Much like we tend to a garden continually, we cultivate an awakened life. We cultivate it through ritual, practicing concentrated intention and concentration in meditation, being aware of the quality of how we connect with others and with our own internal experience, and then also serving, putting ourselves in service to healthy life in various ways. So think about ritual first. Faithfully and regularly following with deliberate and focused care and approach to our day. And we bring this to whatever we do, everything that we do. We already do this in many ways without appreciating the full import and benefit of it. Because so many of our habits, so many of our little rituals are so ordinary. Our daily grooming sequence, or the way we have our morning coffee. We run through our personal rituals unconsciously most of the time, but there's great value to introducing, therefore, meaningful symbolic rituals into our lives and to performing them deliberately and mindfully. Because the way we do ritual affects the way we live the rest of our lives. If we're unconscious of our rituals, our habits that structure, we may lean on them as substitutes for being fully present. If we are unconscious of our rituals, if we don't notice them, if we don't recognize the fact, we may lean on them as substitutes for being fully present, and thus fall into a trance, this trance of the familiar. And it's not just whether we're in a trance or not in a trance. It's just the deepening mindfulness or mindlessness. And we can spend a lot of our life in trance, in the surfaces, the appearances that solidify into a limited sense of me, my life, my things, my way. But we can choose. We can do our rituals full of self or empty of self, which is what we cultivate. And once we're together again in the Zendo, embodied, we'll much more be able to practice with this. So can you appreciate the difference between doing a ritual full of self or empty of self? Like the ritual of brushing our teeth. What I think of is brushing the teeth full of self is brushing away while thinking about something else, worrying about something, or trying to remember or plan or whatever else it is, but not actually brushing the teeth with all of our presence, or doing the dishes just to get it done, just for some future reward. So we miss the life of this moment, the life of this ordinary moment. We miss the intimacy, the thorough enactment taking place through our very bodies. Likewise, if we practice Zazen for some future reward or some different, aspiring to some different state of mind, some mythical state of enlightenment, we're missing the life of this moment. We're missing the central point of all practice. The lively, emergent spirit each moment. Even with a wandering mind, wherever your mind is wandering, internally or externally, at this very place, it's this. Notice the wandering mind without judgment, but maybe with a sense of wonder. Wow, look at this wandering mind. So when we approach any and all rituals as living choreography, by taking this step, just this step, completely inhabited and embodied, in a way, we stop the clock. We step out of the passing nature of time and can enjoy the timelessness of just this step. So I'm speaking here about ritual, of how ritual functions to bring this moment into its fullness, to allow it its fullness. This sound, this motion, this sensation, this relationship, intimate in all fullness, otherwise known as emptiness or openness or liveliness. This is the only thing right now. And as we do this, We can appreciate what's most important, which is what is real right here in this object, this toothbrush, this toothpaste foam, the sound of it in motion, the sensation on the teeth and the gums, the very scent of this activity. So we can all reflect on how much we notice our ordinary rituals. Lighting the candle and incense for practice, bowing 3 bows, doing the dishes, getting in the mail, answering the telephone, turning on the light. Anything that we do the same way each time, we can look at as our ritual, sacred rituals. Sacred when they are completely everything and all together. The preciousness. So I become especially aware of this theme during Sesshin, which we are about to start, where we share daily rituals and take them up as one in the Sangha. We move through the day as one. And this is less apparent, of course, when we do Sesshin on Zoom. And it's much more apparent when we are all in person. It's unavoidably apparent when we're all in person. Sesshin highlights the nature of our lives in their particulars so that we're alert to the significance of each moment, which we can really miss when we fall into the trance of the ordinary. The practice that we do offers formal rituals, and I want to remind everybody to use them. Keep them simple. So they mark the beginning, middle, and end of the day. Lighting a candle or incense on your small home altar before your morning meditation. But even if you don't meditate in the morning, just offer a stick of incense, do 3 bows, and then dedicate the work of the day to benefit all beings. This is a brief ritual. You can also add to it bringing to mind anyone you know who's having a hard time, and send thoughts of love and support their way. This kind of even very brief ritual can set us in the upright, almost in a mysteriously potent way, if we begin our days this way. And then during the day, in the midst of it all, recollecting your vow to awaken and how it can only happen by paying attention in this moment. So that's a ritual, that's a mind ritual, isn't it? Remembering the vow to awaken, to be here, to be present. At Sesshin, we chant the meal sutra before eating, but at home, you can do that. Or you can even just pause, put your palms together and bow, come back to your spirit, and appreciate how many labors bring you this meal. How many hands have touched this food? How many lives have contributed to this food landing right here on your plate to nourish you and delight you, hopefully. And then at the end of the day, meditating, chanting the 4 vows or the 5 remembrances or even the Metta Sutra. All of this helps the beginning, the middle, the end of the day to remember the precious Dharma, to be awake in this very life just as it is. This kind of rhythm, ritual rhythm in the day is very settling and nurturing. quiets the heart. So it's really important to remember that the spirit of practice, to be here and now, is more important than any technique. Finding a way to enjoy just sitting is key. Sitting meditation is a refuge, not a test. It doesn't get you anywhere, but entirely here where you already are. And with this spirit, our whole life is concentrated practice, not just on the cushion, any old time. We bring focus to the experience that we're having right now, no matter what we're doing, coming completely to it. Life as the task at hand. Receiving each task with gratitude for the opportunity to put ourselves all together into it, without scatter and without reactivity. And even if we scatter and are reactive, that too, we notice. Cultivating on the cushion is our school's essential practice. From this, the mind of awakening emanates continually. So, if you haven't already, but I think most of us here have it, set up a spot for daily sitting with an altar, which supports our intention to actually sit. It's essential to the Zazen ritual and aids in concentration. So part of ritual also is thinking about all the things that encourage it and maintain it. Help us enjoy it so we can fully give ourselves over. Enjoyment only comes when we're fully into it. And remembering, of course, that no matter what your state of mind, doesn't matter. Hogan is always saying, do not judge your meditation. So we cultivate this habit energy that keeps us going over time. And sometimes our concentration is deep and sweet. And at other times, the mind is leaping and drifting and ruminating and never really getting down to it. Or maybe it does for a second or two, and then you lose it again. This is exactly the path we all walk. Wherever your mind is wandering, internally or externally, at this very place, this is the wandering mind. This is the mind we're all working with. We're all coming to know. We're all becoming friends with. And this is the basis of a sense of equanimity in relation to the variability in our life. Our concentration is not dependent on any one day of practice, but on developing a constancy of intention to relax the mind in the present moment and to let ourselves just settle with what is at hand. Choosing a focal practice during meditation and staying with it, coming back to it over and over and over again. This is the constancy that is such an important ingredient in concentration. We come back to our life over and over and over again, every moment. Coming back, oh yeah, here I am. Developing a constancy of presence, where mind and body are one in awareness. So developing concentration and And there's another aspect to this ritual unfolding in our life, which is connection. Connection inside into our internal realms, outside into the world around us and all of its particulars, all around in all our relations, casual and distant, intimate ones, open, ones that we choose, ones that we don't choose. Anything that comes to us through happenstance. We develop a constancy, a concentrated heart of kindness and patience with our fellow beings and with ourselves. This is also such an essential part of an awake life. Open to ourselves, really knowing our own places of holding and fear, our places of shame and vulnerability, which is an essential ingredient for compassion to grow. To be able to be present, not only to our own states of mind, but whenever we see them in someone else. If I don't know these states myself, then I won't be able to maintain an open connection and tender presence with somebody who's suffering in those states of mind and heart. So the first connection is with ourselves. And to come to know, however long it takes, all the many ways that we hold on and the strategies that we use to make our way through the world. Whatever is, whatever ties us up. And to come to know what liberates us, what gets in our way and what frees us from these. Investigate this. Being really ourselves is always a matter of opening to all our relations. Taking tender care of all of our relations. So this is the significance of Sangha. How we help each other. How we heal in Sangha. How we serve each other and the greater world. So I've probably said enough. I'd really like to end by all of us chanting together Shantideva's Way of the Bodhisattva. And you know what? I forgot to bring it up. Eeks. Maybe we won't. Can somebody bring that up quickly on the screen?
I'm afraid I don't have it anywhere online in a file.
Okay, it'll take too long. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll share it with everyone. I mean, I'll subject you to my singing. Let's see. Shantideva's Way of the Bodhisattva. I rejoice in the virtue of all beings. To help attain the way, I offer any virtue that I have. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I support the life of boundless untold beings, just as does the earth enduring as space itself. May I be a bridge, a boat, and ship for all to cross the water. May I become a doctor, nurse, and medicine for sick beings in the world. May food and drink descend, ending thirst and hunger. May I be the nourishment they need until everyone is healed. May I provide for the lost and destitute everything they need through the night to guide them. May this very life that I've received liberate the world. May even acts of harm help the violent awaken. May they all come to know each and every joy. Until free from pain, may I be life for all beings throughout the ends of space. Everything I've gained, I joyfully surrender. Every step I take, I'm moving with the world. May we all come to know the promise of this life. Just as all Buddhas embraced the awakened mind, just as they embodied all bodhisattva practices, for the sake of all, I do adopt the spirit of enlightenment and will follow the way of the bodhisattva. May we all support each other and all beings to awaken to this complete life, sharing the goodness and healing the harm.